Rightio boys, if you've been keeping up with the Supra saga, then you know what's been happening. If you haven't, go watch the other videos. The links are in the description below. Now that's out of the way. In the previous episode of the Supra saga, we finally sorted out the misfire that has been giving me the shits for a while. But now, since that I'm a paranoid individual, I decided to pull the injectors out just so I can get them flow tested and cleaned and have a bit of peace of mind before I slap them back into the car and go for a thrash. So in this episode, that's exactly what we're doing. Okay. Boys, welcome back to the channel. In this episode, we're going to be pulling the injectors out of the Supra because the paranoia has gotten the best of me. You know what? What if I was driving the car and thrashing the absolute shit out of it and it decides to shit an injector, lean out and blow my engine up? I was like, no, I can't afford that because that shit's expensive. Because injectors are very crucial to the engine. You always need to make sure that they are working within the specified operations of its operation. So today we're going to be ripping out the injectors out of the Supra, get them tested, flow tested, and see if they're healthy. And if I need a new set of injectors, then I need a new set of injectors. Let's get into it. So to essentially remove the injectors, which are, I can't really, can you see? No, you can see. Actually, let me get a light. To take those injectors out, I will have to essentially take this throttle body off, take the intake manifold off, because these split. As you can see, they split, so you'll be able to split the intake manifold into half, and then just so you'll be able to access the injectors just so you can pull it out. On top of that, we'll be taking out the fuel filter, cleaning it as well. Since the car's on the 85, you have to check your fuel system regularly. The 85 has a tendency to clog, gunk up the fuel systems. It's just characteristics of it because it absorbs water. If you don't take care of it, obviously you'll have bad injectors, bad fuel system, and it just won't operate correctly. So now I'm just gonna be prepping the car, essentially another stage, just so the car doesn't blow up, man. That's all. I just don't want the engine to blow up. I'll show you a quick demonstration of what a good injectors are. So when I purchased this, the injectors have to meet a range or a target for them to be sufficient enough. So here you can see all the injectors were pretty much even with 10cc discrepancy, the most being the 10cc. A lot of people tend to flow match the injectors just so you can get the most accurate numbers throughout all of the injectors. Because if you don't flow match the injectors, then obviously the tuner will have to compensate for how less the flow is for an injector. So he'll have to put more fuel in. Let's just say this was 1400. He'll have to put more fuel in cylinder 6 to compensate to make them all even. As you can see here, these are 2200cc injectors and they tested at 1500cc, and this is what the result was, and at 45 psi fuel pressure. So if I pull these injectors out and they are pretty much the same as what it used to be, then I'll be happy. If it isn't, then I'll have to either replace an injector or buy another full set of injectors that are flow matched. So that's off now, which is pretty easy. It's pretty simple to take these off. So you just have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bolts to hold it in, a couple of vacuum lines, some breather lines, throttle body obviously has a connect to disconnect, and the brake line, the master cylinder, the brake booster line. Next will be essentially to take all these cable ties off, take all the clips off, disconnect all the connectors for the injectors. Then it'll be essentially as easy as taking this one bolt out and this other bolt that holds the fuel rail into the bracket. Take the fuel rail out, take the injectors out, mark them, so 1 to 6, 1 being the front and 6 being the back. Go get it tested, see if it flows okay-ish. If it doesn't, then we'll find out which one is the problem. Hopefully they're all, you know, they're all flow okay. If number 6 is the problem, it'll be pretty evident to see what number 6 is doing. And also cover these holes, because you don't want no goddamn things going into that, because if that goes in there, and yeah, you don't want it. You don't want things going in there. You know how they tell you to not stick your PP in places? Yeah, same principle, but you don't want things going into the engine. Again, I'd like to reiterate why I'm doing this, because you don't want to have a fuel system failure. Because what happens is when you have an injector fail or your fuel pump fail is the engine leans out. And when the engine leans out, your combustion chamber temperatures go really, really high. When that happens, you blow up shit and you melt shit. I don't want to run that risk of that, regardless if the engine's built or not. You still don't want to do that. It's not ideal, you know? You want to drive it and look after it at the same time. On top of that, we'll be also rectifying an oil leak that we had. In the last video, I said that we have an oil leak that I need to look at. Since roll racing got cancelled, now I've got the time to actually sit down, knuckle down, and do shit. See that cam angle sensor there? How it's a little bit wet around the sides? So that's the sensor that's been leaking and pissing out for a while. What I'll have to do is essentially take the sensor off, reseal it. On top of that, we have another thing that we have to do. We have to clean the fuel filter. Just precautionary, you just have to. Haven't done it in a while, which is also bad because you don't want to, I've been lazy, I'm not gonna lie. I've been really lazy with the maintenance on this thing. And I want to just do everything all at once. E85 especially, you want to try and clean and maintain injectors and fuel filters every 6 months. That's if you don't drive it. If you drive it, then it's not too bad because you got fuel constantly flowing through it. If it's sitting around, then it starts getting gummy and just clogs up. That's why I was like, might as well do it. I've been driving the shit out of this car, so I haven't had any issues. I just want to do it because I'm paranoid now. My paranoia has gotten the best of me. I'm sure there's people out there that can relate with paranoia taking over your senses. Also, another thing, if you guys are enjoying the content, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, because that helps me massively. There's a lot of people out there that are watching the videos that aren't subscribed. If you're watching it, I appreciate it, but just click that subscribe button. Click that like button too. It helps the channel grow. If you like these kinds of mad content in regards to this, and soon this, oh, don't mind that. You're not supposed to see that. Damn it. Okay, I can't reiterate how important it is to cover your shit, because I don't know if you saw, there was like fuel and gunk and shit around the injectors. If that sort of goes into your ports, then you're gonna have shit in your intake and in your engine. The injectors look pretty fucking shit, I'm not gonna lie. Always good practice to label all your injectors from where it came out from. And also there's some funky shit going on as well. Come on, focus, you bastard. So you see how it's gunked up? It's got a lot of shit in it. So you just gotta be careful of having too much stuff in it. So see how it's a little bit starting to get gummy? There's one injector that's really, really bad. Surprisingly, it's not number 6, but it's number 4. See how you got all this gunk that's essentially built up from the injector. So you just want to be wary of those kinds of situations. Yeah, you just got to be very, very wary and have good practice on cleaning your injectors and just maintaining your fuel system, because it's very, very crucial to your engine. Just another quick update. I'm fucking full of updates today. Apologize for that, but I'm just excited, okay? So don't judge me. So as some of you may know, that I've built a welding table to learn how to weld and TIG and shit like that to make exhaust. So this is the bird poo welds that I started out with, which is absolutely fucking rubbish. Don't get me wrong, this is terrible. And now that I decided to spend a little bit of like extra money and buy some cups, like a size 12 cup. Look, it's not stacking dimes, but at least it's a little bit better. So I'm gonna take on the project of making an exhaust for this, because why the hell not? I'm just bored, man. I do weird things when I'm bored. So if you guys enjoy that kind of shit and bored and just tag along with me, destroy shit and ruin things, because that's what this channel's all about. And we learn at the same time. So another little update. All right, boys, so injectors are done. Had a bloke come out, absolute fucking sick as cunt out. Showed me how they get done, because I've always been curious on how injectors get cleaned and what the process is in cleaning injectors. They tested out fine, so they're pretty good. They tested out fine, so we'll just throw it back in, and hopefully it drives and we don't have a misfire issue. It's just a peace of mind thing for me, to be honest, because I don't want to have an issue. So that's done now. We'll throw these bad boys in, start the car, and see if it runs. Also, I forgot to mention that we need to also do an oil leak, because I've had this oil leak for a while, just sort of neglected it. I need to get around to do it. So the oil leak is coming from this sensor. So yeah, I don't know if I've explained it before, but there's a bit of a spacer on the sensor, and I needed to space it out because the sensor needed to be spaced out, and there was no other way of without putting just the washer. So I put the washer on, put some goop on it, but it's still, I don't know if you can see down there. It's still leaking, so, and all the crust and crud that you see everywhere. We'll fix that too now, because it's just easier to fix it now because I've got access to it. Otherwise it'd be a bitch with the manifold on, and it's just a fucking pain in the ass. So we'll do that now. All right, so I've done the sensor replacement. I mean the seal, the reseal. That's it there. You know what I mean? It's fucking fresh goop. This, that. Hopefully it doesn't leak, because if it does, then I'll be upset. Also for injectors as well, if you guys are ever doing injectors, like replacing injectors or rubbers, like if you're ever replacing anything that has a rubber seal or putting it or fitting it, make sure you always lube it up, because fuck, if you don't lube it up, it's gonna hurt the engine. Anyway, so what I use is just a bit of silicone grease, WD-40 even, that works as well, and just lube up the seals. So essentially where it's going to sit on the surface. So this part is going to sit on the intake manifold. So what happens is if you put it on dry, it pinches the seal. And when it pinches the seal, it doesn't seal properly. So always try and apply a bit of lubricant to the O-rings just so it seats properly. And yeah. So now what we'll do is we'll fit off these little spaces that goes on top of the, that goes on underneath the injectors. Because the issue with these injectors is they're 3/4 length. I think they're half length. So what that means is it's got spaces. So these spaces here pretty much make up for the space for the full length injectors. And since you have half a length, you have to have these and a top hat that sits on top of it to make up a full length of an injector. I'll put these bad boys in, throw the injectors in, and then, yeah. So what I might do quickly is prime the ignition just to see if any fuel doesn't leak. Just essentially to see if any fuel's gonna leak or not, because I don't want to put all this back together and then fucking for it to leak. So we'll do that just to see if anything leaks. All right, boys, that'll be it for this episode. I gotta keep you guys on your toes. I can't give you everything because you gotta keep you streamed along. So that's pretty much all that's gonna be in this episode. Make sure you stay subscribed, do all the things that you need to, as in turn on notifications, subscribe, like the video, comment, and just help out, interact with the video, because we need that and we need to grow. So please, I beg you to do that. In the next video, you find out what the fucking issue is again, because it's never simple. So it's really annoying trying to diagnose something and then something else happens and it's just so forth. It's just the way cars are. So I hope you guys are excited for that episode, and I'll see you guys on the next one.